Hello everyone, before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subjects 221108.3. Those bleeding adipose are everywhere. I reckon we'll need to use some spare warp plasma just to melt them down and purge B-Deck, which is where the uber important sex dungeons reside and my quarters. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Before we start, I'd like to promote a coffee fundraiser I'm doing to help my sister. Recently her dog had a stroke, but also managed to create an incision on her abdomen. She is getting quite old, and the lump has been determined to be not as cancerous as initially thought, but the cost of the surgery and treatment is a little bit on the pricey side. Any assistance would be greatly appreciated. Link to the coffee in the pinned comment down below. So today I'd like to talk about Just Stop Oil, because it does reasonably well on this channel, but also because they've escalated from artwork to instead disrupting lots of people's lives, which again does not make anyone want to support them. Some will, the vast majority not so much. Not least because they have things like work or appointments or A to B to deal with, potentially missing out on a school run. And as we all know, protecting the future and the children and giving them the best chance is important. It's also good that parents are there for them to pick them up. You never know, there might not be anyone to do so and the kid will be stuck there because of you. Not that the consequences matter, of course, the greater problem really is the environment. And I can fully understand support the idea that this planet needs as much protection as it can get. The tactics are quite interesting though, and we do have some videos to show you. Activists for Just Stop Oil brought traffic to a halt in more than half a dozen separate locations across the M25. The M25 is that road that goes around London, I believe. It's a ring of some kind. It is one of the most irritating roads you'll ever get stuck on, because even if they weren't there, traffic gets backed up on a near daily basis. So people know this will happen. Just Stop Oil would like them to reduce their speed, so as to best help the environment by reducing the speed down to 30 miles per hour, which many people would take a great issue with, not least because the whole point of a motorway, or a highway, is so that you can get from A to B faster, at an expedited rate. Reducing the speed, although I would argue you're not going to be going that fast on the M25 at the best of times because it's always backed up, could yield a positive outcome for the environment but inconvenience people greatly to the point of the M25 being redundant, although it might well lead to less accidents. Although I have seen people have accidents at much slower speeds, it is quite impressive. People are stupid. So now I'm going to insert some videos, and I will provide suitable context because there's a bit of information you need to know around this entire event. That video was taken at one of the many gantries of the M25. What's really interesting about this is, National Highway secured a High Court injunction. That High Court injunction prevented Just Stop Oil protesters from disrupting England's busiest motorway. The court granted a further injunction that aimed to stop unlawful demonstrations on the M25 in an attempt to end disruption to the busy road by Just Stop Oil. It means that anyone entering the motorway and fixing themselves to any object or structure on it, and anyone assisting in such an act, can be held in contempt of court. They in turn could face imprisonment, an unlimited fine, and the seizure of assets. The injunction was secured in addition to a court order obtained by National Highways earlier this year that targeted protesters, including those from insulate Britain. National Highways' existing injunction covers the M25, the M25 feeder roads, and major roads in Kent and around the port of Dover until May 2023. As you saw, they don't care. And we can add to that, because somebody who took that video, Louise Harris, was on one of those gantries, and she gave a 2-minute video talking about her reason for being there, and that is where we're going to go now.
Hello, my name is Louise, I'm 24 years old, and I'm here. I'm here because I don't have a future. And you might hate me for doing this, and you're entitled to hate me.
Since you've also been, well, protesting elsewhere, football pitch more notably, and you were pelted by drinks, then I'm not entirely sure which one people will hate you for more. Invading a football pitch during a match, or this, disrupting traffic. I guess the saving grace really is that the traffic, well, they're a fair distance from you, so they can't throw their bottles of piss at your head. Also, you're 24 and you say you have no future. Bit melodramatic, don't you think?
But I wish you would direct all that anger and hatred at our government.
Are we referring to the same governments that all flew out to Egypt for the Environment COP20 whatever meeting thing, where the leader of the one-party system, SNP, Nicola Sturgeon, pledged £2 million to help and then an additional £5 million to help lesser fortunate nations, and then encouraged other governments to do so, which I believe Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's not in government like in the cabinet, said that no, we shouldn't be doing reparations. The Industrial Revolution improved everyone's quality of life. Are we talking about that same... Is that who we're supposed to be blaming? Okay, just wanted to be clear on this. By the way, just because this tickled me to no end, Nicola Sturgeon had pledged £5 million and then additional £2 million, but the other way around, after last week cutting public services in Scotland by £1.2 billion after claiming there is no money. Interesting.
They are betraying young people like me. I would love to be there if they did their lawful duty to their own citizens.
Some actors have a gift to cry on cue. This is not one of those actors. Second, duty to their citizens. We are not citizens, we are subjects to the crown. Peasant.
I'm part of the Just Stop Oil Coalition, demanding an end to all new oil and gas licenses in the UK. What we're asking for is what all the scientists are asking for, what the United Nations are asking for, the International Energy, the IPCC. How many more people have to say, we don't have a livable future if you continue licensing oil and gas for you to listen? Why does it take young people like me up on a gantry on the M25 for you to listen?
Unless I'm mistaken, but back in August of 2021, the UN had actually said via a climate report that humanity had really screwed itself, along with saying in April of 2022, it is now or never to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. I will repeat what I've always said, the UK is not the biggest polluter. The biggest polluter and the ones that really need to change and impact the world on a grander scale are nations that will not listen to us. We can use our position, our power on the grander stage, but to convince nations to reduce their own industrial productivity, make those necessary changes, that is unlikely. I would love for it to be a yes, I really would, by the way, because this summer was a little bit on the warm side for 2 days. But still, the point stands. The biggest polluters are China, the United States, India, Russia, Japan, Germany, Iran, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia. They are the top 10. By the way, China generates 30% of all global emissions of CO2, the US 14%. Do you get my point now? Grandstanding or moral grandstanding in the United Kingdom isn't going to impact any discernible change when you have other nations around the world who are not changing, and many of them will not listen to us.
Over 1,000 people in the UK died in just a few days because of the 40-degree heat, because of the climate crisis, which is fueled by oil, gas, coal, fossil fuels. And our government, they want more. It is an act of murder. And this is an act of self-defense. And we need you to join us in order for this to work, in order for our murderous government to take action and listen.
I would have interjected sooner, but there was actually quite a serious point there concerning the rather warm weather we had for a few days. But it was enough to impact a considerable amount of damage. We have over the last 3.5 years lost a lot of people, many of whom passed away, and it was attributed to the coup. Now we have people passing because of the heat, because the British, we can't handle heat. We're not built for it. We're built for rain. There is an issue here, and of course something needs to be done to address it. I highly recommend installing air conditioning units everywhere, because we don't really do air conditioning, and we could really do with it. The main issue really is how you power all that air conditioning. Nuclear is realistically our only option going forward, but whether it is something that can be explored, I'm not sure. And I know people are going on about fracking. I'm still on the fence with that at the moment. I don't know enough about it.
How many more people in Pakistan, in Nigeria have to die before they listen, even in the UK? We will stop as soon as the government stop new oil and gas. Please join us. Civil resistance is all we have left.
So I'm guessing fracking's out of the equation then.
The police are now here.
15 people were arrested for what they did that day, so yesterday. And as you can see with all this backed up traffic, they've done wonders for the environment by leaving all these cars, well, there. I'm hoping some of them at least turn their engines off because they're kinda stuck. Or is it illegal on a motorway? I can't remember. That earlier mentioned 15 arrest number has since been increased to 35. And Just Stop Oil have repeated the same thing they did yesterday, today. And this is where more people are drawing attention to the fact these aren't just regular peasants you're stopping from getting to and from places. Some of these people have jobs that require them to care for others, which is quite the disruption and could well lead to a bigger response. But as we've seen from COP27 so far, no, people can talk about the climate emergency all you like with your moral grandstanding like Nicola Sturgeon, but in reality you accomplish nothing. 7 million doesn't fix shit. And if your idea is to push for reparations, do you really think that does anything? Really? My life. People are stupid. One of those peasants that had been disrupted was a TV host called James Whale. He had a cancer checkup at the hospital. Another, a nurse, had pointed out she'd been on a 12-hour night shift in A&E and hadn't slept in 16 hours, then being stuck on the M25 because of this, wasting more fuel and sitting here because, well, she's causing a problem here. Yeah. So I guess my query about leaving the engine running or turning it off has been answered by those who are on Twitter quite angry with Just Stop Oil, because while you are morally grandstanding about the environment, people are stuck leaving their engines running on a motorway, backed up. By the way, over 100,000 people use that road daily. That's a lot of vehicles. Thousands backed up because of 35 arrested people. It's quite impressive, but also quite embarrassing, because yet again, what are you actually accomplishing? Also, with these people's responses, you've answered my question about what kind of support you can get, because many you have disrupted have not been best welcoming of what you are trying to accomplish. That's not to say there aren't some that don't, only that the voices that appear to be the loudest are those that are quite frankly cross with all of you.